apart. Conquer fears, won't let them reside. Heartbeats pound as we take the dive. Living now feels so alive. Heart steel veins glowing bright. Fitness gone in the dead of night. Fading game, we got the sight. Crushing finance, career out of sight. Men of now, we own it true. Breaking change, just me and you. Success stories everywhere. Living life beyond compare.
All right, all right. I understand the State of the Union is in 22 minutes, and we get to have the fabulous Donald Trump go ahead and speak to America. And this is going to be interesting, especially with all the tariffs that just came out. But this is not a political channel. We are men of now. We are men trying to improve every single day, however we can. And I wanted to talk about Lizzo today. I don't know if you guys knew, but Lizzo showed up to the Oscars having lost already 50 pounds and now on a major weight loss journey. And if you remember back, like even just a year ago, Big is Beautiful. And Lizzo would slam down on haters about weight. And she would have her fans slam down on haters about weight. But then all of a sudden, she now is on the other side. She actually wants to be healthy. It's almost as if this was propaganda. And that's what I want to talk about today. Yes, the title of the show is sarcasm. There is a ton of propaganda in America, and there's a ton of propaganda everywhere. And it's very interesting to see how they push one narrative and then can so quickly switch to the other side. But without further ado, how are we doing, guys? Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well for a Tuesday in March in North Carolina. We got extreme weather coming in, but like we say in North Carolina, if you don't like the weather, just wait 30 minutes. But other than that, man, I couldn't be better.
Good stuff. Josh, how you doing?
Good. Just always interesting topics. Also entertainingly sandwiched down here in the little video screens in between the before and after.
Which one would you pick? Point to the one you would pick.
I'm taking the bear.
See, I wanted you to point because it's always mirrored and you would always get it wrong. So
taking the bear.
Oh no. No, but Josh, what are your thoughts on this? Because like I know you've seen some of the stuff, like The Big is Beautiful, and like you definitely are aware of all this type of stuff. And like what the heck's going on here? Like so many of her fans feel lied to and they're upset with her.
Yeah, it's interesting when anytime anyone tells you something, right? Always break down what's the root message here, right? What exactly are they getting at? What are they trying to convey? But also, is it really something that's in my best interest, or is it something that really benefits them, right? So, leveraging the, hey, big is beautiful and you can't criticize it and X, Y, and Z, right? Where, again, a lot of the criticism wasn't really around more of an issue of beauty, is more like around an issue of health. But yeah, there definitely was that issue of beauty that came up, and because there's a lot of scientific studies that have gone in and shown like, hey, here's what people tend to find attractive throughout all of human history. And so to try and counteract that, scientific evidence, it's a little bit counterintuitive. So, when people are hearing different things, right, and you want to break down like what is propaganda, right? Propaganda is a message that is internally or intentionally skewed and biased to a certain degree and to a certain point in order to facilitate only one point of view, and usually to be accepted, unquestioned, and usually distorts reality to a very, very heavy degree. So, when you start seeing a lot of different messages and hearing a lot of these messages, right? So again, anytime I watch the news or anytime I read an article or anything, the very first thing I ask is, okay, blank slate here. What is this person trying to get me to feel, or what are they trying to get me to think? What are they trying to get me to walk away with? And is it something that's for my own benefit, or is it something that ultimately benefits them?
I love that. And this is an interesting one. And I actually got this from Steven Crowder, because I do enjoy watching his show. I like to watch both further right and further left stuff, just to keep a balanced mindset. And one example that he uses is, if aliens came to this planet, what would they think by seeing some of these things? And you got to come at it from the blank slate. Let's use logic. If you see somebody who is of healthy weight, they live long, prosperous lives, and then you see others that are massively overweight, die early, they have problems, they can't move as quickly, like all this type of stuff. Okay, as that unbiased opinion, you would think that there's something wrong with the fat person. And so when we are pushing this agenda, so you can't say anything bad about somebody else. I mean, heck, you look at all the stuff that they're doing in Germany recently. If you even say something remotely bad about, if you insult somebody on the internet, then you can get arrested, which I think is crazy. And it all leads to that propaganda thing. It's almost like they wanted us to get fat and sluggish. I mean, I can't even imagine how betrayed I would feel as one of Lizzo's fans if she goes like this complete opposite direction of where she was before. And new me, new year, new me. She's thriving in 25. I don't know. It just it's wild to me. The whole thing is wild to me, because if you just apply that logical lens, it just doesn't compute. And when it doesn't compute, then there has to be something off with it. It's got to be propaganda.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the narrative, especially in the West, of trying to make you feel like a bad person because you see something that you know is totally wrong or completely unhealthy, and instead of they make you feel like a bad person if you point that out. Lizzo's a very talented singer. She's very successful. However, she was a walking Hershey kiss, and then trying to get everybody to accept that she's beautiful. And, maybe some people think she is. However, the overwhelming majority of men do not find that attractive. And that's fine for both sides. If she enjoys being big, that's great. But anybody that points that out, especially on the health aspect, you don't make them the bad person for pointing that out. It's almost like you can't have your own opinion. And that's where propaganda and the way society wants to make you feel in the West now, that if you have an opinion that might offend someone, then you're a bad person.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing recently, is that's starting to go away a little bit, especially with Trump and his administration coming into office. But it's crazy that we swung so far in that direction, where pointing out that, hey, you are overweight, was making you the enemy. And that's what did I just cut off for a second?
Well, yeah, we lost you
Yeah,
for a
you
second.
froze, but it's a good angle.
Yeah,
Am I back?
Yeah, you're
There you
not.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Internet hacks talking about Lizzo.
FBI agents
They
are
don't like
watching
that.
and
It was
relogging it. Don't worry.
YouTube demonetizing us because we said fat, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
No, but it's crazy. I think it's kind of turning back with having something like Trump and his administration in the White House, just in like the tone of everything. We had swung so far in that one direction that we would literally praise things that logically don't make sense. Why would you praise somebody for cutting off their genitalia? Why would you praise, like, especially like we were praising cutting off genitalia of kids before they're even like they have the developed mind to make a decision for themselves? And we're praising people for being exceptionally overweight and unhealthy. Like, what are we doing? And that's that lens. That's what I'm talking about with like that alien analogy. Is like if you just come at it with a blank slate, logical mind, does this make sense? And no, it doesn't. And that's what I found so interesting about this, that she has more people hating on her now than she did before. Because the people hating on her now is because they felt lied to, as if this whole big is beautiful was propaganda.
Well, and again, it's, when you're create your own monster that you have to deal with, right? And a hallmark telltale sign of propaganda is that the propaganda is very much like an isolationist type of message, right? Where it's like, hey, look, we're on the right path, but anyone who disagrees doesn't matter. Like, blanket statement, cross board, they're bad people, they're terrible, they're the problem, they're what's wrong. So we need to isolate from those people, right? We need to be in our own little group. Like, that's how you can quickly and easily identify a propagandist message, right? So there's a big difference between, like, let's, again, everybody's open for discussions. Let's talk about Christians, right? So we talk Christianity, and you have people that are saying like, hey, you don't believe in Christianity or God or Jesus or any of that stuff. All right, hey, that's cool. This is what we believe. If you'd like to come like to a ceremony or anything, great. Like, we'd love to have you. It'd be great, right? Now, you take that message versus sometimes the message people receive. Oh, you don't believe in the same faith that we believe in? Well, then you're doomed to eternal damnation and you're a terrible person. It's like, all right, one sounds a lot more propaganda and one sounds a little bit more like, hey, we're having an open dialogue, an open conversation. And again, we want to share more facts and information so you can make your own choice and your own decision. And so, again, these things can pop up in all aspects of life, not even just in, we're talking about media, but also in religion, we're talking about in business, even in interpersonal relationships, right? Like, it can be very, very apparent when you start knowing what to look for.
That's interesting. It just made me think about like work, when somebody is like whispering something in your ear, just little bits over time, even if it's not real. And then you start to believe it, and then you react certain ways that are not, they don't match reality.
The company is going through a strategic restructuring. You mean you're laying a bunch of people off? Like, no. Strategic restructuring, guys.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Have you guys ever heard of oh gosh, I don't remember what it is, but there's like 14 different ones you can fall into. And it's like 14 different categories that are kind of broken into further categories. And so for me, I came out as a captain. For one of my coworkers, who is somebody that I had to work with as on the business side for warehousing, she was a chameleon. And I'll never forget the one day that one of my coworkers shared that with me. It's like, she's a chameleon, but it means a lot more than just that. She's going to adapt. Yeah, talking about the archetypes. She's going to adapt to whatever situation that's going to benefit her the most. And you'll see shifts in personality. And it was weird how everything kind of falls into place with that. And she was the reason why I ended up leaving that last job, was because she was setting me up for failure by coaxing me in certain ways. And I just was blind to what was going on. It's slowly leading you. It's like leading a horse to water, except they're leading the horse to a poison pit. And you're just not paying attention along the way.
Yeah. And it's just, especially nowadays where just, there's so much sort of like, when you talk about like more centralized, like, media outlets, right? They're very consolidated because there's only a handful of companies that, own them, and they all like have the same sort of talking points, script lines and everything. But then you get into the decentralized side of the equation, and that gets really interesting too, where again, you've got so many different content creators and different independent voices, but there's a lot of noise. So, it's good to have a rational detector, so that way you can see, okay, who is actually trying to just give me information, and then who's trying to influence me in another way, right? So, another example of that sometimes can be like different groups or different clubs, right? Where, hey, we're in a group, we're here, we're hanging out, we're doing our thing, but by the way, we don't want you to talk to or associate with anybody else from any outside group. It's like, all right, well, that is a way to play it, where you could be locking people into a situation where they aren't really getting exposed to the breadth or different diversity of different idea types. Now, depending on what the group is and what it's about, sometimes that could potentially be necessary, right? Hey, if we're doing research on a particular thing, or if we're focused on solely a very specific topic, okay, great, makes total sense. But again, if it's supposed to be more of a collaborative type environment, then usually collaboration means that you need to be a little bit more open to other ideas and other exchanges. So again, keep an open mind is what I say, but also look at, again, the information people are giving to you. So that way you can make up the best decision for yourself and say, hey, look, is this actually truly in my best benefit? Or is this benefiting somebody else who isn't me? Because if you start looking at the world through that lens and that filter, you start to understand really quickly that there's a lot of things that you think are one thing, but in reality turn out to be something else. Like if you think pharmaceutical companies are very much in the business of your health, you may be very surprised to find out that they're actually in a very, very different business.
No. Don't tell people that. That's propaganda.
Totally.
No,
Yeah.
but it's crazy. Yeah, it's the bottom line. Sorry, Kevin, I'll let you go in 1 second. It's the bottom line. I put that in the description as well. Like, if the media was invented specifically to be your informant. They were meant to give you the information, and then it's up to you to go ahead and decipher it. That has kind of gone away. And it's gone away because the more clicks, the more views, all that comes down to the bottom line. At the end of the day, they are businesses. So if they can generate more views and clicks, then they win. They get to eat more. So with this whole thing, it's just like you gotta sift through the bullshit. I know it's a lot more fun to read about some ridiculous. It's almost like reading conspiracy theories. Like, let's be honest, right? It's almost like reading conspiracy theories when it comes to what we have today of the headlines and the news that they put out. I can't tell you how frustrating it is when I just want an answer. Like, I don't know about you guys. I've stopped using Google. Do you guys still use Google? Because I just use ChatGPT to get me at least the summarized information for everything now.
Wow, where's ChatGPT pull its info from? That's the look
It
at
does,
that model.
but it sifts through it in an unbiased manner. And when it's out of line, I tell it to go F itself, and then it goes ahead and recorrects it. And it doesn't talk back.
Skynet's going to come for you first. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I was gonna say ChatGPT. Yeah, you definitely have to train it, because when anytime I'm writing a script for a webinar or anything like that, it always throws some woke shit in there.
Yeah, and then you can self-correct it. But that's what I miss is unbiased reporting of facts. That's what's so important. And I just have never seen an era where propaganda has been so heavy. And so, Kevin, I do want to turn it to you, and I want to ask you, what are the ways that you sift through the propaganda that may be out there, or the propaganda that you see?
Well, it's really difficult these days because if you want to watch what they call legacy media now, I mean, you can't, because it all comes from a bias narrative, whether it's Fox News, CBS, or anything like that. So you have to watch that for what it is. However, it's always going to have a biased narrative behind it. But the way I do it is, I think I'm a little bit smarter than the average bear. I can read through bullshit a lot more than the masses, because of what I've seen lately, of like even going back to the Lizzo thing. She's finally taking control of her life. She realizes that, okay, yeah, everybody even tells me that beautiful. I don't like what I see in the mirror. So she's making the change. But like you said, now fans of her own are coming out and saying, wait, no, you don't have to change. But remember what we were talking about in pre-show is some other podcasts have brought the Lizzo thing up when she was still big. And all the women on the podcast said, oh, Lizzo, she's beautiful. She's a great looking girl. And then the host of said podcast comes out and says, yeah, you know
Dude,
what?
you can just say what it is. This was on
Yeah.
Fresh and Fit, and I thought
Yeah,
it was
Fresh and Fit,
fantastic.
and I
when
think
when Myron, exactly as you're saying, when Myron's pressuring the girls and like asking, like, do you find Lizzo attractive? Do you think Lizzo's attractive? And everybody says yeah, and then, oh well, you look like Lizzo. That's what you're saying, right?
you resemble her, and you can see that their body language doesn't lie. You can see the look on their face and the way they react to comparing them to Lizzo, that
Mhm.
they find that offensive. So it's not even their fault, because they were brought up, especially Gen Zers are brought up to, you know, you're supposed to accept everybody, and if you can't hurt anybody's feelings, even though your intent is not to hurt anyone's feelings, but calling someone unhealthy or unattractive because of their appearance by weight or anything else, it's having your own opinion. And if your opinion is not some joyful, everybody's accepted, everything's gonna work, then you're shamed for that. And they almost want to make you feel bad for pointing out the obvious when it's right there in everybody's fucking face. But if you point it out and you are the one that's honest, they try to make you feel like the bad person. But then when you flip the script on them and say, yeah, okay, yeah, you look a lot like Lizzo, but she's beautiful, right? What that's not what I meant. So it's not even a double standard. It's the way society wants to use propaganda to hold people with valid, truthful, and honest opinions back from speaking those for reasons I really don't know what, but it's where we've gone to as a society to make everyone feel bad for having their own feelings or having their own standards when it comes to finding someone else attractive.
I may have put that in the description as well, but propaganda is really a way of control.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what I'm seeing here with this. Trying to think about the best way to put it. They want you in your feelings, but they want you still in your feelings, but they want you in the feelings that they want you to have.
Mhm.
And so it's a control mechanism. That's
Yeah.
essentially what it comes down to. And I find it interesting because we never, like, I just remember growing up, even pre-internet era, not dealing with this type of crap. Whereas nowadays, I have to scroll through, like, on any basic news article, I have to scroll through 4 paragraphs and 3 ads before I can even get to what the actual thing is. It's
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
and the title is the best, like, let's just use Lego for an example. The best Lego set releasing in March. I click on it and I got to go through 4 paragraphs, 3 different ads until I even see, like, just tell me the answer. And that's why I've used ChatGPT now, because it's at least parsing the data.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, even all this, you know, what we started on it's a great topic for, you know, trying to accept everybody for who they are or how big they are or whatever. Propaganda is a very, very powerful tool. I mean, look at
Mhm.
what the North Korean regime, the UNs, have been able to do with propaganda. They accept the fact that they are below third world standards. However, the leaders are gods to them because what they shove down their throat. There's only 3 stations on TV in North Korea, and it's all political, all about how good Kim Jong-un is. And they put out
Mhm.
these stupid photographs of him standing on the top of Mount Everest in his suit with no dirty, and they buy it. And it works especially well in third
Well,
world
because
countries.
they buy it because they can't eat anything else. That's the only thing they
Yeah,
can
you
consume.
know, and I think that's the way it was trying to get to here, is if I just shove it down the American's throat enough, they'll finally start believing what we're saying, whatever their narrative was, whether it be left, right, indifferent. That's how it was going. And fortunately, I think here in America, we're a land of free thinkers mostly. And so a lot of people can see through that bullshit. But in other places, propaganda is a very powerful tool that leaders and society can use to make people fall into what their line is. And that's
Yeah,
what makes
no,
it
it's super interesting because propaganda is a huge part of the Communist Party, and we were seeing it creep in stronger, and it still is today, but we're kind of trying to reverse it. It's the strongest it's ever been in America, which is wild to even think about.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like, understand what propaganda really means, and from its baseline definition, it's just forcing a point of view in an indirect manner. I mean, I think of myself as a dating coach, and what I do with these guys is we're going through stuff. It's like rewiring some of the programming, because it's all been propaganda, the Disney fairy tale, like all of that type of stuff, and to get them to rewire to actually like understand what truly is in front of them. It's like putting on that lens, and once you have that lens, then you can still, like, my girl gets frustrated with me a lot because like I'll watch some stuff that seems like so far right or so far left or so far like out of control. Like, she hates Andrew Tate too. Shout out to him. That was a absolutely fantastic interview they had with PBD yesterday. But you need to have like the holistic understanding, and when you have the lens, it's a lens not just for the eyes but for the ears. And then when you listen to stuff, you're able to parse out the information yourself, so you understand, okay, what is true in these statements. And that's something that I think every guy needs to develop, because it helps you, as Josh was saying earlier. Hello, comrade, thank you for coming back.
You're not just getting a hack, but
Yeah, no worries. Lizzo was coming at you. So with that, it's like when you're able to parse out that information, then you can actually like have some intelligent thought. Like, if something seems off, it's probably off for a reason. And when you can remove your emotion and actually see it and hear it clearly, you can parse the garbage and the truth. So I can listen to something that could be extremely far right, or I guess this is left, mirrored images. I don't know. Both sides. So from both sides here, you can look at each side and you can see what they're actually saying through the words that they're saying based on their position. And then you pull both sides together to meet in the middle and find peace. A lot of people don't have peace right now because they align one way or another. Whereas I align as a moderate, and I always will be a moderate. Even if I lean conservative, I am still moderate. And so understanding everything first and then making a decision is my best path forward. And I can decipher the bullshit and the propaganda that is hidden within some of the messages.
yeah, and it's being able to just see like what's there, so you really understand like okay, what is actually here, what's actually happening. So again, the perfect example, right, is the current conflict in Ukraine, right? It's interesting how
Josh, your mic's coming in a little low.
okay, coming
So
in
I
a
don't know if you want to pull it closer.
let me see here.
Yeah, it was coming in just lower than it was before. So,
How am I sounding now?
oh yeah,
You're sounding great.
here we go. Yeah.
Let's
Cool.
hear it.
Yeah, no, I was saying is, what a good example of that right now is right the current conflict in Ukraine, right? And so, interestingly, how if you read any article about Ukraine before 2022, right, it's all about the incessant corruption and how, especially at the top levels, and their leader is super corrupt, and there's a whole lot of problems and issues that are going on with that. To suddenly we get the super black and white narrative, right, at 2022 that okay, Putin's evil. He's just trying to go and resurrect the USSR, and Ukraine is this perfectly great, good guy, hero country that is standing up and fighting and providing resistance. And so, if you just take that at face value, then it's like, okay, yeah, 100% that, yeah, it's pure black and white. one side's pure good, one side's pure bad. That's it. End of story. But if you really break down and look at the actual nuance of everything, and you understand the whole context, right? Where it's, hey, you rewind the clock back 20 years ago when NATO looked Putin in the eye and said, hey, we will not expand whatsoever. And then for 20 straight years did the exact opposite of that, right? And then again, all the corruption and everything that's happened and filtered in, even with some of the inner conflict, because Ukraine in general has been very split between people that feel and identify more on the Ukrainian side and a lot of people that just feel a lot more on the Russian side. So its borders have expanded and contracted very, very interestingly over its entire history. So again, not taking one side or the other on this, which is saying like, hey, look at the information, look at the facts. And again, if you just take everything at absolute face value, then again, before 2022, you believe, okay, great, this is the absolute most corrupt country on earth and nothing good ever comes of there. And then you swing it 180 degrees the other way where it's like, oh my gosh, this country's infallible and they're so heroic and everything is great. And Russia's completely in the wrong and they're total enemies. It's, a lot more intricate and more nuanced than that. So, don't believe everything at just pure face value. It's important to look at that information and also look at when people are reporting and saying like, hey, how are they trying to make me feel? What are they trying to make me believe?
How are they trying to make me feel?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. How are they trying to make me feel? That's something that I think everybody needs to do whenever they're reading a headline or reading information before like they have solidified facts by doing your own research. Ask yourself that question. How are they trying to make me feel? Are they trying to just inform me? Are they trying to make me feel good? Are they trying to make me feel bad? Is there an agenda behind that? You know what? I just stepped away for a second, and I don't know if you guys find this funny, but I find it funny. The TV automatically gives me the trending things on the different applications and what's trending on the different streaming services that go through Vizio. And the number one is the Spanish version of the State of the Union. There's no American, no English version of the State of the Union, but you can tell that everybody in Mexico right now is really, really looking to see what he's going to say. I still can't believe he went through with the 25% for both. I told you guys it wasn't going to become political, but
yeah. Well, I mean, we don't have to make it political. I mean, but that is what's in our face right now because of the propaganda that's out there. But something you mentioned a few minutes ago, Alex, is Andrew Tate. Like you said, your girlfriend hates him, and
no. Let me correct that. Wait, do you hate him? Do you hate Andrew Tate? Yes, but it's not because of him. It's because of the way he speaks. It's the same reason why she didn't vote for Trump. She voted for Kamala, and she was embarrassed. She walked in here with like a dog with its tail between its legs, and she told me the truth. No, I voted for Kamala. I mean, okay, I'm not going to hate you for it. I just think you were kind of dumb given the circumstance.
Yeah, but you're going to see that with most females and women out there.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Sorry. I wanted to finish on that, and then I'll throw to you. It's the way that it's said. It's not what's said, and that's what's very interesting between men and women, because men were very just like matter of fact, whereas women, they want to dance around. They want to dance around a lot of different things, and that's what makes it okay. We're just not like wired that way. So with this election and with Trump's first election, it's not that I like Trump, because I'll tell you right now, I admire him for certain things. Do I like him? No, I do not like Trump. And it's interesting because it's a lesser of two evils situation. So back in the first election, you had Trump versus Hillary. Lesser of two evils. I do not want Hell Dog in the house. And so this time around, and with last time, Do I want Kamala in the House or do I want Trump in the House? Well, to me, the most important things were the economy and foreign relations. And I'll tell you what, you can call him a bully, but Trump has gotten everything done foreign relation wise going on here. And that's what's weird with this type of thing is like it's the way you say it. So that also leads into the propaganda type of thing because it's like if you pad it, and that's what Lizzo did, padding it, and big is beautiful. You go, girl, you go, queen. And then a bunch of people don't care about their weight anymore. And then she goes ahead and loses a bunch of weight and just doesn't address it. And then people follow influencers. So they follow them. They go ahead and adopt the lifestyle. They don't think they need to care about their weight anymore. Then they're massively overweight, sluggish, and then they have a huge journey if they wanted to get back to where they were before. But wait, I thought big is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what's funny about that, or ironic about that, is, you know, like the guys like myself, you know, I'm take relatively good care of myself. And you see before Lizzo, you say, okay, that's very unhealthy. That's not attractive. And that's not a beautiful look. I'm hated on by the people that say, no, big is beautiful. She's beautiful. Accept her for how she is. Blah, blah, blah. Now that she's made the turnaround, and I don't know if she got a gastric sleeve, if she's just pounding out in the gym, she's taking control of her health. Now guys like me are saying, you go, girl. Keep at it. Keep pushing. Make it right. But now the ones that were hating on me before for pointing out the truth are hating on her for taking control of her life and not listening to the bullshit that, you know, 300 pounds at 5'3" is fucking
Isn't
healthy.
that interesting? Isn't that interesting how the people that were hating on you before are now hating on her? Do they just need somebody to hate? That's the effect of propaganda.
Or you gotta have something to complain about. And that's how a lot of people feel nowadays, the victim mentality. You know, Steven Crowder said one time he was up on stage and he was going on one of his rants and he's, you know, was pointing out some overweight woman in the audience. And she was like, do you just wake up every day and say, how can I be a victim today? I've got to find some way that I'm a victim. And for young people, unfortunately, that's a lot of their mindsets. And I don't know where that came from. Maybe the new school system. I'm Gen X, guys. When we were fat, we were told by, not by our friends, we were told by our parents, our family, you're fucking fat. You need to lose some weight. Or you're skinny. You need to fucking eat more. You know, that there wasn't any padding of the truth to make you feel good about yourself. You know, and going back to the Andrew Tate thing, you know, a reason why your girl hates him is because of the propaganda that has been put out that probably a woman will see of him saying some wild shit. And I will say, yeah, dude says some fucking wild shit, especially in the beginning. Yeah, but that's what they see because an outlet that a woman's going to see.
It's all they see. And there's no
all
critical
they're see is the wild shit that he says, not the success that he's brought, the help that he's doing for young men, just like we're doing in the Men of Now. So if you're seeing this, like, comment, subscribe. The things that he does that are good, even the tone irrelevant, the things that he actually does, they're not going to see that because if you woman watching from a female's or an Andrew Hate outlet of propaganda, all you're going to see is the fucking wild shit that he says. And he does say some wild fucking shit. But one thing I've noticed about Tate, him and his brother, they match your energy. If you go into an interview with them and you're cordial and you're asking serious questions, you will get cordial, serious answers back. But if you try to throw some shit on him, Pierce Morgan found that out the wrong way of trying to propagandize the interview to make him look bad. He will match that energy and raise you to. And that's what I like about him is he matches your energy. Ben Shapiro is another one that's very good at doing that.
Well, he also
That's
brought
it.
up a very interesting point, on the propaganda side of the equation with his most recent interview yesterday with, PBD, which if you guys haven't seen it, fantastic one. Highly recommend you guys check it out. 3 hours, very interesting, and there's some wild stuff in there.
There's some
But,
wild, awesome stuff in there.
we was talking about like the Diddy case and all that stuff, right? Where it's like, first thing you want to do is assassinate your character. So what's the first thing they do? Gear up the propaganda machine. And oh, guess what? A video that's 10 years old suddenly gets dropped and released, and then everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like da da da. But again, the real question you should be asking is like, "All right, why now? Why him? Why now? What exactly has happened?" Because you know this video has been around for 10 years. People have been sitting on this. So it's like, if this was such an outrage or X, Y, or Z or whatnot, he's such a terrible, X, Y, and Z this whole entire time, then why was he allowed to do what he did for 10 years? And all of this was just sat on until it was suddenly decided that, okay, now he's either, crossed the line or he's not with the program or X, Y, or again, another example is R. Kelly. For years, everybody knew R. Kelly was just going off on some really wild, inappropriate, predatory directions. And years, everyone just turned a blind eye. Everybody kind of knew. It's like, dude, the fact that he was dating a 14-year-old Aaliyah, that wasn't a tip off to like everybody that, hey, this dude's doing something a little bit weird and a little bit sus. Like, no, we're just gonna let this just chill and slide for a long time until very conveniently at a certain point it's like, oh, okay, yeah, now he's the full blown, we got documentaries coming out about this guy X, Y, and Z. So again, always ask yourself like, hey, why exactly is this happening? What exactly is the timing about? Why exactly are we here at this exact juncture? And again, what are they trying to make us do? So again, that's a great example of like, hey, they used leverage the propaganda machine to again, bring down the hammer. Because if they really truly cared about Diddy and bringing him to justice and all this, that, and the other, you don't sit on something that volcanic for a whole decade and allow the guy to continue to operate unhindered just because, oh yeah, well, it's a misunderstanding or X, Y, or Z, or we're just gathering or we're building our case. It's like, no, we're taking this guy down now. But the real interesting question is why? Why the timing? Why wait for 10 years?
Yeah, and it's very important to read through everything that kind of goes on with this, because essentially, when you think about the Illuminati, okay, I don't believe there's Illuminati, but there is a backbone behind it all. So when we talk about what went on with Diddy, you are absolutely right, Josh. Why sit on this? I mean, this is like a big deal, but they chose to sit on it until, whether it be him not re-signing a contract or them wanting to finally get rid of him, boom, then it happens. And so it's very important to pay attention to what moves other people make. And that's something that I don't think that a lot of people spend enough critical thinking on. Okay, so why are they doing this? It's always the why. You need to be asking the why. The more you ask the why, the further you get ahead in kind of like your brain and understanding how all these different things are moving together. When you think of like the solar system, and you got a whole bunch of different planets, whole bunch of different sizes, whole bunch of different attributes, but then we pieced it together at the very end. That's what you're doing socially. So you're understanding exactly how different planets, different beings interact. And then the further your understanding of that gets, then you can see when the bullshit is happening. I mean, that lens is so unbelievably important, at least in my opinion, to understanding how to navigate life appropriately. I mean, we've seen it, Josh, too, with when it comes to investing in crypto and the right ways to move, because we get it. We get it because we understand it, because we can see the larger moves everybody else is doing.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if there's a little Illuminati out there. If there is, can you guys just please send me a schedule so I just know like what world events are coming, so I can like prepare appropriately for it, as well as get my memes like ready to go, locked and loaded on that front. But it is true though how if you start to recognize certain patterns, then you can start to kind of not necessarily get a crystal ball, but you can take some very educated guesses on where things will go or how things may play out.
Well,
And Josh, I told you, hold on. Josh, I told you, and that's what I'm very excited about. Trump hasn't come on yet, but we're going to wrap here in a minute. I told you guys in the chat, I believe that Trump is all of this other side stuff is a distraction from a new world order, meaning that either leaving the UN and starting something new or leaving NATO. I've seen a lot of things about the
who
U.S.
founded
leaving
NATO?
NATO.
And who,
Dude, if
and who
I'm right
funds
on
NATO?
this, if I'm right on this, each of you owe me a McBiscuit for breakfast from McDonald's the next time we hang out.
There you go.
Because that's my new favorite thing.
All right.
Yeah, I want to say too, though. I mean, Illuminati, that's a fun term to say, but I do believe in the deep state. And the deep state has nothing to do with politicians. Politicians are the deep state's puppets. Because, okay, the Diddy thing, yeah, there's no fucking way that's been going on 10, 15, 20 years, like they say. And all those people at those parties were able to just keep their mouth shut about it. There's no way. Same with Jeffrey Epstein. Why did it go on for years and years and years till all of a sudden then he gets arrested? Is because a certain person knows too much. And then they have to start using the propaganda out to the peasants that we are, apparently, to make them believe a narrative. So, but this shit goes on every day. And, like you were saying, how does it work that, all of a sudden now it's an issue? Because in Epstein's case, in Diddy's case, in countless other ones, you see a time that it just, now
There's
all of a sudden
something-
it became a big deal. Now we got to put him in jail. Now it's got to come out. And then now they've been talking about the Epstein files that apparently the new attorney general
And
has
they're not bringing them out. Yeah,
but it's not
like
coming
it's
to
a false
public. So,
promise.
Wow,
so
that's
the
like
deep state back there saying we can't do this.
I'd imagine that'd be a catch-22 situation though, because it's like it's one, a Pandora's box, right? But then two, it's also like who exactly is it for, right? Like, is it for the Justice Department? Is it for the mob? Is it for? So that one I think is a very precarious thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more wavering on it, or like stuff just get kind of like trickled out a bit. Because that's one, again, that's very not black and white, right? Because there's considerations you have to make for the victims, but there's also considerations that you have to make for, hey, there's gonna be implications for different things, but ultimately the big question is who is this for, right? Like, is it for the Justice Department, or is it for just public appeal? And that's a really interesting question that I don't think anybody's actually really answered. It's like, hey, who exactly is this for? Who's it going to?
It's for the public. It's for transparency. And that's the issue, is because it's going to implicate certain people, that is going to cause a cascading catastrophe. And I think that's what everybody's afraid of. And so that's why they're kind of holding back on some things.
Yeah, well, again, the world's not as black and white as we'd like to live it is, because I mean, we fortunately live in a government that, again, for a lot of misgivings, our government's still, semi-transparent compared to a lot of other governments out there. But I do agree that there are certain things that, hey, just for the sake, the general public probably should know and be aware of. Because again, it's like if people really knew how close like nuclear disasters like could have potentially happened, you could have risked ending society like pretty easily. So there's a fine balance that lays in there. So that's where I again go a little bit on the like, yeah, I'm all for like a lot of transparency to a certain degree, but I'm also for like, hey, these things aren't just simple black and white. You do have to balance and weigh a lot of factors, and it's not an easy decision for sure. So I'm glad I'm not in that position to have to like make that decision, but I definitely do. I can see both sides of it for the like, hey, put it out there, or hey, like we kind of need to keep it back here because the blowback on this could be quite and not just here, but it seems like there's implications that could have global reaching effects, which now that's a really, tricky question.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, guys, it's we've been going for a while. Kevin, you had done a webinar the other day. Do you want to tell
Recently
everybody about
did a quick webinar, about 20 minutes on basic investing. We're going to get more in depth as we go on. And if you're not familiar with the Men of Now, you're new here, obviously like, comment, subscribe. But it's something that we do monthly. And we do a webinar. And we also have back behind paywall meetings aside from the show we do. But yeah, I did a quick webinar on basic investing and ways beginners can invest in 2025, and look forward to elaborating on that and moving forward with that in the future. And that's not propaganda, guys. We do real shit here at the Men of Now. We take guys that are at certain points in their lives and they're ready to level up, and we use our knowledge, we use our members, we use our team to help get you there. And that's what we have strived to do for the last year and a half. And we are open for enrollment now. So if it's something you're interested, menofnow.us/enroll, sign up there, and we will get a meeting scheduled with you and see if Men of Now is a good fit for you, and we can get you to your goals.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was such a great webinar that you had the other day. And guys, seriously, when it comes to Men of Now, it's like wherever you are in life, if we can help you, we will, and we want to. If we can't, we will point you in the right direction. That's what this is all about. Don't listen to propaganda. Don't listen to mainstream media. Just go ahead and use your own brain, decipher the information as it comes to you, and go from there. But with that, this was a phenomenal conversation. I've really enjoyed it, guys. I am going to hop off to listen to the State of the Union and see where we're going from here.
Yeah, and Lizzo, when you see this, just know, Big Brother Kevin, I'm fucking proud of you, girl.
We love you. All right, have a good one, guys. Until next time.
Till next time.